the size of the school, their fancy uniforms. And remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals. We've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential, to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those two foul shots at the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com.
Right now, it's not about talent. It's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
Good morning to you and welcome to another edition of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, Saturday mornings right here on two stations in the state of New Hampshire. Pete Terrier along with Dave Haley, NHSportsPage.com. We do it between 7 and 9 a.m. on News Radio 610 in and around Manchester. Also, a Seacoast signal for you at 96.7, Dave. Good morning. You got a special guest, our assistant here, your young daughter, Allison, ready to do a little bracketology breakdown, correct?
Minus two front teeth, but she's here, yes. She's going to do bracketology later.
Well, we do have the final standings in D3 and D4, so those tournaments get underway next week, although the NHIAA will release those tournament pairings on Monday, you would assume.
They really, they expect the coach. I don't know what they expect, but the coaches really have to figure out on their own. I mean, I had D4 coaches texting me yesterday saying, I think we're playing these guys. What can you tell me about those guys and stuff like that? So they've kind of figured it out on their own. We're going to have a great guest on this morning who probably is better than anybody in Division III at figuring this stuff out, so he's probably going to be a huge help.
You're talking about Dave Chase, of course, from Hopkinton. His team certainly in the mix in Division III. We got a D2 coach coming up in the second hour. And one of the coaches of what I should say is one of the least talked about teams that is a top team in Division II. Hollis Brookline's Mike Susi will join us. And they're on a winning streak here to close the regular season. And they got themselves in a good position for perhaps a top 4 seed. And everybody talks about the importance of those top 4 seeds. And the picture is starting to become clearer. The upper divisions, they're getting down to their final week of the regular season. So most teams with just a couple of games left to play next week on Tuesday and Friday night. And it should be fun as we get into the month of March. Can you believe it?
I'll be at 3 games next week, so I'm excited. It starts on Tuesday.
What day is the first day of March? So is that Friday or is it Thursday, the first day of March?
Friday, I believe.
Friday, March 1st. Can't wait for that. All right, before we get into it, we'll get to our guests as the show rolls along. But my favorite part of the show really is Dave Haley's scoreboard. It really is my favorite part of the show. Besides just me and you kind of going back and forth and talking to the coaches, I really like your scoreboard.
Thank you very much. I feel like I'm about to disappoint you after that intro, but let's go through. Start with Division I. Where does the Division I go? Oh, here we go. Nashua South 64-52 over Londonderry. Tim and Jack Preston both had 17 and 16 points respectively. Nashua South's playing well. They built up. Nice that they didn't have any sort of letdown after that win over Central. Bedford with a 75-66 win over Keene. Who led Bedford in scoring?
Jake Capistron had 26 points.
Oh, there you
go. For him,
yeah.
So he had a big night, and that's a good win on the road at Keene.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Another score, Trinity, without Patrick Keefe, who's got the flu, and John Calitti, who's also got the flu, 67-61 over Dover. Huge game again for Carmen G. and Petruzzi. 31 points and 14 rebounds. He's now averaging over 15 rebounds a game in his last 4 basketball games.
You know, you mentioned the flu bug going through that Trinity locker room. Not good timing. And the other part of it is, did Coach Dave Keefe, who his son Patrick did not play with the flu, are they quarantined in separate sections of the? I mean, they got the Central game on Tuesday, so it would be a shame if they had some of their players down with the flu.
I got a quick funny story about that. Richard from Trinity called me last night. Always great guy. Always gives us the stats. He said he calls me after every game. He said, so I guess I won't be calling you Tuesday. I should be seeing you and Tuesday. And he said, and Doc Wheeler is standing right in front of me with a big smile on his face right now. That was his sign off to me. But big upset last night. Winnicott 62, Memorial down 4 players. 50. We're going to talk about this one quite a bit, but 22 points from Rich Ruffin. Great win for Jay McKenna's team, and we're going to talk about the enigma that is Manchester Memorial basketball. Salem 67-61 over Pinkerton. I don't think Pinkerton's ever won on a Friday night because I feel like I'm always beating these guys up on Saturday mornings, but there it is. Salem with a big win. Andrew Ruffin had 22 points. Big game for them. Spalding 61-48. Balanced scoring attack there led by Dominic Parody, who just goes 1,000 point. They beat Bishop Girton. I believe Jeff Lennon only had 9 points. C.J. Boykins had 2. So
he hasn't provided the spark that a lot of people said he would when he finally came back from that shoulder injury.
No. So that's another one we'll get to. So go to the other divisions real quick. We'll bounce around. Pembroke 63-44 over Bishop Brady in a nearly sold-out game. They had to pull out both bleachers for that one. Patrick Welch with 23 points. Conant rolls 70-37 over Bow on the road. Huge loss for Co Brown last night. This is a bad loss.
I saw that. Ooh.
This is a really, really, really bad loss. There's no other way to say it. 44-39 at home to Kingswood. Kingswood, who in the Christmas tournament was losing games to Winnisquam and Newfound. I mean, I don't know what happened last night, but that's a bad loss. Hopkinton is rolling 60-24 over Franklin. We're going to have Dave Chase on in a little bit, but Hopkins playing very well right now. Hollis Brookline, as you mentioned, PJ Flom had a big game. 48-38 over John Stark. It's a nice one there. Newport finishes with the best record in school history, 17-1. They had a battle at Kearsarge, 41-38. They double-teamed Andrew Hood the entire game. He had 7 points, but he had 15 rebounds and 8 blocks. And he came through with a win. Oyster River continues to win, 51-36 over Kennett. Bouncing around, Berlin 61-42 over Prospect Mountain. I think Prospect Mountain is down a couple starters, and they just seem to be sputtering to the end here. And finally, the game you were at last night, the rock fight that was. It may have been ugly to some people, but not to Jim Mulvey. He's quite pleased. 46-34 Souhegan with the win. That's the only scores I really want to touch on this morning.
Yeah, and that's the game that we have video highlight of on nhsportspage.com. And John Cassidy tells me this morning, it was hard pulling highlights out of that one. Look, there was some good sequences in that game, but it was a lot of defense. Portsmouth, my first look in person at them this year, and they were very impressive on the defensive end. And when you could shut Brandon Len down to 14 points and 34 points as a team.
Jonathan Feiner guard him?
Fenor was on him, and what it was they just couldn't get into position to really get him any open shots. And he's a guy that likes to drive to the basket as well and dish, and he couldn't even do that. I mean, they do have stifling defense. Now, Souhegan did not shoot the ball well at all, and I think it affected the confidence of the other Souhegan players. They had some size advantages down low with Jake Kennedy, obviously. Everybody does. But Portsmouth, the one thing that they don't really have is size. Colin McDonald, 6'4", and then they got that other kid, Patrick Glynn.
Devon played last night, didn't he?
He did play, and he's a good player.
He's just back. He was out for a while with grades.
Devon Wilson-Miles, you're talking about, obviously.
Devon Wilson-Miles.
They've got two guys, him and Glenn, that are both listed at 6'2". They both play much bigger. Glenn reminds me of Dave Dunham a little bit from Nashua South. Just body type, not game wise, because Dunham can shoot it from downtown. Right. Glenn, they don't ask him to. I don't know if he can. I'm assuming he can.
He's not really shooting.
But he looks a lot bigger than the 6'2" roster size that they have him listed for. And Wilson-Miles plays bigger. He's got a lot of low post moves. We talked about this earlier this year.
One more I want to add. I'm sorry, because it wasn't on NHIAA, but we have it in the box score. Alvern 61-54 over North. 22 from Tyler Livingston and Jordan Lates, who's had a great season for North, 24. And I tried to get away with it, but I think
That's right.
My friend Lauren Lucas is listening.
There was one score that did not make it onto your scoreboard.
I will not ruin a friendship over this, so here it goes. Summersworth 61, Guilford 40.
A little payback.
And it wasn't that close.
A little payback from the overtime loss a couple of weeks ago.
Ugly scene last night. There was a Guilford parent, I guess, who got kicked out for yelling at the officials. Greg Kretschmar was texting about it. I had a friend of the game. Whoever you are, you're an idiot and you're embarrassing me from Guilford. Clean it up. But good win for great win for Summersworth. Guilford really had nothing to play for. They're the 4 seed now, anyway. But Summersworth felt like they were wronged a little bit in that first matchup, as you know. I'm not so sure they were, but whatever. It doesn't matter.
I didn't feel they were.
I didn't think they were either, but Lauren got those guys ready to go, and they're a tough group, and they're playing so good. Lauren's done such a great job, and they're playing hard.
You know who's carrying that team right now?
Oh, Drew Franklin.
Yeah, I mean they put it on his
first
back.
Team. He's first team. There's
put
no
it
question.
on his back, and he's delivered. The game that I saw, the one you were talking about, the overtime game in Guilford, he had 32.
32.
And I think they had 40-something in that game.
And he's not even
47 maybe?
He's not even a scorer per se. You know, that's not his thing. He's not even like a very good three-point shooter, but he has to score, and he's stepped up. And if he had not have stepped up, they wouldn't be going anywhere. And I want to see where they fall, because if they fall at 7 and Conant falls at 2, that's a shame, because I feel like Summersworth could go anywhere in the quarterfinals on the road and beat Newport, Guilford, or Berlin. They could win.
Does it look like Berlin is the number 1 seed? Berlin is the number
I think so.
Percentage point situation?
The thing is they played some D4 games, but they also beat Kennett twice, and I think those Kennett wins helped them a lot, even though Kennett's not very good, because they're D2. I have to check it. Now Conant beat Conval, which is D2. I don't know. I looked at the standings the other day, and it looked like Berlin was 1. You know what? Dave Chase is as good as anybody to answer this.
Well, we got him coming up in just a couple of minutes.
We'll save some stuff for him.
We'll get to a break. We'll come back, and we'll start our bracketology breakdown with your daughter, Allison, in the house, because she's the Dickie V of New Hampshire high school hoops, especially D3 and D4 basketball.
She's got the headphones on, watching Frankenweenie, so she doesn't even know we're talking about it.
We'll let her break down Frankenweenie when we return. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, WGIR 610 News Radio 610 and 96.7. Back here on the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. We do it each and every Saturday morning between 7 and 9 a.m. live on the radio. 2 stations, News Radio 610 around Manchester and Hopkinton as well. Also 96.7 on the Seacoast. Got another storm coming in. Not looking as bad as they had feared a couple of days ago. I just saw the updated forecast on WMUR TV, Channel 9, and they say 3 to 6 in the area, southern New Hampshire, Nashua, Manchester, Concord. If you're listening on 96.7, that looks like the, I don't want to say jackpot, but the part where it's going to get the most snow, 4 to 8 out where you live, Dave, near the Seacoast, up in the Rochester and Dover area as well. So keep your eye on that coming in sometime later this afternoon. More shoveling tomorrow, so should be fun. We got March Madness on the mind, New Hampshire high school basketball style, and we're talking a little D3 basketball right now with our next guest, the head coach of the Hopkinton Hawks, Dave Chase. Coach Chase, good morning, and congratulations on a 14-4 regular season. It's now time for that second season.
Well, thanks, Pete and Dave. Yeah, as we say here in the Division III ranks, now we're on to the second season.
So, Coach, your team, as I said, mentioned sitting there at 14-4, tied with Campbell in that spot. I know that the official pairings aren't out, but have you gotten a sense of where you guys are? You lose the tiebreak, I think, to Campbell, so you should be sitting in that number 6 spot by my estimation. Is that what you believe as well?
That's what we have. The first tie-breaking rule is head-to-head, so Campbell beat us down at Campbell earlier in the year. So they're going to get the 5th spot, and we should go to the 6th.
So, Dave, can you break it down for me, because I don't have the NHIAA site up in front of me. Is Berlin 1? I think Newport's 3?
Berlin's going to be number 1 because they played Kennett twice, and they got 2 extra points. So they finished with a 70 points or a 3.88 index rating. Conant will finish 2nd because they played Conval and had 1 extra point. So they would finish with...
These are 2 of the worst teams in Division II, by the way, as you know. Not telling you anything you don't know, but I just thought I'd mention it.
So with their 69 points or a 3.833, they would come in 2nd. Newport finished 17-1 with a 68 index, so that's 377. Then Guilford would come in fourth with a 15-3 record. Then pretty much becomes pretty cut and dry as we move down until you get down towards the latter end. Guilford should be, as I said, fourth. Campbell should be fifth. Hopkins should be sixth. Somersworth would drop to seventh at 13-5. Then the first, actually, Mascoma's 12-6 would be 8. And then the first tie, besides Campbell and Hopkinton, was Prospect and Raymond. And Raymond beat Prospect during the regular season, so Raymond would go 9, Prospect would go 10.
I'm smiling at Pete because I said, I know Dave Chase is going to know everything. I was like, because I call you. I
got up early because I knew you were going to ask me that question.
You know I was depending on you. Not like I was going to do the work myself. I could just go to you.
Yeah, so there's some tough matchups right off the bat there. If you look at 7 being Somersworth and 10 being Prospect right there.
So, I'll just say it, and I know I'm going to get coach speak from you, and I understand that, but you now are in a bracket. You got to win a couple games to get there, but or maybe one game to win there, but you're in a bracket with a Newport team that you beat, and I believe you beat them on the road. Did you beat them on the road, or you beat them at home? You beat them on the road.
Yeah, we beat them at Newport.
Gave them their only loss of the year.
They're very good. They're very good, well coached. One of the up and coming. I totally respect the coach, Stevie Lapicello. I mean, he just does it. He knew our offense and our plays better than my own team did. So I mean, it's going to be a tough run, but obviously we can't look past Bo, who we will have in the first round.
And what about the job that Lucas Croto has done? I mean, this is funny because when I started in this business back in the early 90s, I used to call Conval games. And Steve Laval-Pacello was playing for Kearsarge at the time, and he had an older brother by the name of Peter Laval-Pacello. And I remember that name because, well, the last name is Laval-Pacello, and it's kind of hard to say and definitely hard to spell. But now I hear, Lucas Croto, and he's the head coach of Bo, and I remember calling games for him when he was at Spalding just a few years ago. So it's weird how, when we're around a lot in a while, like we have been, Coach, you start to see stuff like this, and, kids, fathers that you saw play back in the day now have kids playing. It's just an interesting, just the way the things work out like that.
Well, I think that's called we're getting old.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice for me. I had a couple of my former players are coaching now. Pat West is over helping at Merrimack Valley. His sister was the head coach at Belmont. I had coached both of those when they were here at Hopkinton. So, it is kind of weird to see kids that were 16 years old. They played for you now coaching other guys, and it's even more fun for me when they come back and say, now I know what you were talking about. Why are kids this way, or something like that? And I was like, you were the same way, but it's fun.
So, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your team. And Steve Auger, I gave him first team at the midway point within the division, and he hasn't done anything to change that. He's had a terrific season for you. Really stepped up as a leader. You lost a great first team All-State point guard in Frankie Bean, who's now playing at the college level last year. And I remember at the beginning of the year when you and I talked for a while, you were talking about it was going to be a developing kind of point guard by committee. I just want to hear your thoughts on kind of how that has worked itself out over what's obviously been a really good year for you guys.
Well, first, Steve Auger.
I always call him Auger. I can't.
Well, everybody in the state does. His name really, I believe his parents pronounce it Auger.
I spell it right though.
Yeah. He's been the glue for our team. I mean, the kid is just freakishly athletic. I think a lot of times people get caught up in the scoring averages and stuff. And Steve actually could go for probably 25 to 30 every game if we needed him to do so. We try to spread the wealth, make it more of a team thing, and he gets his recognition, I think, more for being a 5'11" rebounding machine. He's averaging 7.5 rebounds a game, 4 or 5 steals a game. He has an engine; it just doesn't stop. In all of our pressure packages, he's usually at the point of it. relentless defender. And, you know, as I said last night, senior night, he's just one of the classiest kids I've had the opportunity to coach. Just a very coachable person.
It's Dave Chase from Hopkinton. His team 14-4. They're going to be the number 6 seed in the Division III tournament, which gets underway next week. Coach, you guys have won 7 in a row down the stretch. You won 10 of your last 11 to put yourselves in that position. I want to talk about the games that you guys lost. Conant, you lose to them at home 63-46, and we mentioned the Campbell loss earlier, which gave Campbell the 5 seed over your number 6 seed. You also lost to Monadnock, and then a setback against Stevens. What was the common theme in those games that you lost, and is it's just simply that it's Conant and it's Campbell and teams like that, or is there something you can kind of pinpoint and say, hey, if we do this right next time, we're going to win those games?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, Conant, young, they have the word Conant on the front of their chest, and we weren't ready to really play them. At that point in time, I think it was game 4 of the season. Both teams were 3-0, and we're still very nervous. We were looking for some leadership. We were looking for, just some execution, and we didn't do. I mean, we hung around. We were in the game, probably as close as we've been in years. Right towards the end, but we broke down, did not execute well, and ended up losing by 16 or whatever it was. Campbell. We got out to a slow start. Again, Campbell sort of like Conant to us. We kind of look at the name on the chest and have a hard time getting going. We got down real quick, 10-3. We battled back. We actually had a 5-point lead in the fourth quarter, and then took some bad shots. Again, execution, youth. We ended up losing the game by 5. So, I mean, I think we're confident. We're getting better. We had a bad night when we drove down to Monadnock and just got flustered and couldn't put the ball in the ocean. And then our last game that we lost was to Stevens, and I really think the Stevens game might have been a wake-up call for us. We made a couple of changes. We inserted our shooting guard as the point guard, and he's done a tremendous job getting the ball to everybody. His assists have gone from 2 assists a game up to almost 7. And he seems to be having a little more confidence with the ball than the kid that was playing there. So, I think we're starting to peak at the right time. And obviously, as I've also said to numerous people, any day is a mystery for us. I mean, some days we could be the best team in the gym, and some nights, it's a flip of the coin. So I'm seeing more focus, and I'm seeing the kids a little more excited about playing. So, we're hoping for the best. We're hoping that we might be able to do another run like last year where we kind of snuck up on people and got to SNU. And, I think we have the capabilities to do that this year. It's just a matter of if we show up and we can get it done.
So looking, when you do, kind of on this side of it, like when you do what Pete and I are doing, you kind of look at the bottom of the bracket and you say, or the teams on the bottom end of the standings that are going to make the. First of all, how many teams are making the tournament in Division III?
Isn't it 20?
There's 20 teams, and the tough part there, 21 teams have records that are good enough to get in. And what I mean by that is at the bottom of the bracket, you had a tie with.
Is that Kearsarge and Messinic and those guys?
Yeah, Kearsarge, Messinic, and Fall Mountain were all sitting at 6-12. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but when I do the math, because they didn't all play each other, I have Kearsarge had a 4-10 record versus tournament teams. Messinic had a 2-9 record versus tournament teams, and Fall Mountain had a 4-11 record. So, looking at it this way, I mean, unfortunately, it would be Messinic would probably be out. So that would drop it to 20. And again, this is not official by any means, just how I see it. I have 13. Oh, let's go back. Bo was the 11th seed. Stevens would be the 12th seed.
Well, yeah, and Kearsarge, I mean, it played they played Merrimack Valley, and Messinic, I know, has played Hinsdale a couple times, and I know White Mountains has played and lost to Littleton, and they played Groveton. So, you know,
I think they throw those all out. And,
which doesn't make any sense.
No, I mean, that's what I was saying to my AD the other day. I said, you know, it's really kind of tough. You know, don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from Berlin with their 2 wins over the Division I schools or 2 schools, but you know, they get the same amount of points for playing the Division 4 school as, you know, we do a Division 3 school. So, I mean, I think I personally think the NHI has to take a look at it. I mean, when I coached in Vermont, they did have the heel point system, and you'd get a higher point for playing a higher division, but you'd also get a lower point for playing a lower division, and then that kind of evened it off a little bit. But it's just tough, especially in Division 3 when we don't play everybody. So I mean, that's the hard thing too. I mean, you know, when you have 26 schools and you might play 8 schools out of the 26, and because of geographic location, people are playing either, like you said, the 4s or the 2s, and you know, the schedule just doesn't become even. And in the past, that's fine. You know, but talking to a lot of the coaches, the negative part now is, you know, you get to host 2 home games if you're the top 4 team, and you know, if the schedules aren't kind of equal, you know, sometimes it's not going to be quite as fair. I don't think. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the top 4 teams, and probably obviously I would love to host two home games myself, but you know, it's just kind of hard to look at, put it all into the basket, and all of a sudden, you know, that's how it came out. But just to finish it up, I had Stevens at number 12, and then Belmont snuck into 13, and I have them playing Fall Mountain. 14, I had Interlakes playing Kearsarge. 15, I had Farmington playing Monadnock, and 16, I had White Mountains playing Winnisquam. So that's how I came up with it. That doesn't mean it's necessarily the way it's going to be on Monday morning. But
well, we're gonna reference. We're gonna roll the tape on Monday when the parents come out, and I bet you're right. And this is the first time I'm talking to you ever in my life, but I'm trusting you on this. So, hey, I got one more before we let you go. I go through a lot of box scores, and Dave's site, nhsportspage.com, does a lot to help me do that. I noticed a crazy score the other day. 95-89, Messinic beats Monadnock in, I think it was double overtime, and one kid had 57 or 59 points.
One book had him 59, the other had him for 55.
Who is that kid, and what do you know about that game?
Well, his name, he's a sophomore. He's actually Kevin Ryan's nephew, Jared Stoffenecker. And he could shoot it. I mean, we actually, you know, here's the funny part of the story is they played at Fall Mountain on Monday night, and we played them on Tuesday. So I said, hey, you know, it's pretty good for us. I mean, these guys are going to be tired.
Yeah.
And, you know, we did a very nice job in the first half. I think we held them to 4 points. And then he scored 18 in the second half. And, I mean, he's pulling up from the volleyball line, draining threes. He was 6 for 10 from 3. So, Kevin, I think I got a text shortly after Dave texted me to say that this kid had 57. I said, well, how many threes did he hit? He goes, well, he only hit 6.
Wow.
Only hit 6, you know.
I know, but you would think
career
that
for you, Dave, right?
We didn't have the three-point line when Dave was in high school.
Yes, I did.
I know. There you go. You're dating yourself again. That's what's in 1986, but
It's not 86.
you know, the kid is good. I mean, he's a small guy. He's quick. Messinic did a really nice job between him and the Rhines boy. I mean,
Jalen Rhines, yeah.
Jalen, those two guys could stand out there and drill it. And, you know, that's pretty incredible to have 57. I mean, like, you know.
In a 32-minute game, people don't realize that these high school games are 32 minutes long. And he had 57. So what's his name again? Jared?
The team had 31. And it's like, you know, hey, maybe, you know, were they guarding each other? Or did they make an agreement that they weren't going to play defense?
Yeah, Isaiah Prince, yeah.
But like I've said before, I've got guys that like we could go into the gym by ourselves and not score 95 points. You know, so it's kind of incredible that they put up that many points.
So Stoffenkeeper? Is that
Stoffennecker.
Okay.
And he's a sophomore, so you're probably going to hear a little bit more about him.
I might have to take where's Messinic? In New Ipswich, right? Is that where Messinic is?
Yeah, it's way out there.
No, I mean,
yeah.
I'm from Nashua, so New Ipswich is not
probably
too
like
far.
Jaffrey.
I mean, I live in Goffstown now, but I remember
finished
driving
second.
through
He
there.
finished second to Jordan Richards in the division at 21.6 per game.
It's near Wilton. It's kind of near Wilton.
Yeah,
So just the outside of Wilton. All right, Coach. Well, really appreciate the knowledge, the bracketology here. We were going to go to Dave's 6-year-old daughter, Allison, for the bracketology, but we're glad you were able to help us out. We'll get her on D4.
Well, we really appreciate. I really appreciate you letting me come on. We usually do our kindergarten through second biddy basketball every Saturday morning from 7:30 until 10. So I really never have been able to catch your show other than when it's been replayed on the New Hampshire Sports page. So I really appreciate that. I wish you guys the best, and hopefully I didn't lead you in a bad direction on the bracket.
I'll call you this week, Dave. I need more info from you, so I'll call you this week.
And by the way, the video cast of the show, we'll maybe get like a inset picture of Dave Chase here, so we can get a face on his voice here. But that'll be up tomorrow. So when you're digging out, or after you're done digging out from the latest snowstorm, you can sit down and watch the video cast on nhsportspage.com.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck in the tournament.
Coach. All right.
Dave Chase, head coach of Hopkinton. The Hawks, 14-4, the number 6 seed. We got to take a break, come back. That was a hell of a guess right there, Dave.
I feel like we just had Joe Lenardi on.
Yeah, we really did.
Bracketology.
That was a little Jerry Palm action. Joe Lenardi, bracketology here on the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on News Radio 610 and 96.7. More drama coming out of the Queen City as, again, just when you think players are coming back for the Manchester Memorial Crusaders, more players are sat down, and it seems like the frustration is starting to boil over with one Jack Quirk, maybe questioning whether he made the right decision to come back and coach this team. I think he did, because the team is very, very good, even when they don't have everybody on the team. And last night there was, I think, 4 players who had to sit out the game. We had talked a couple of weeks back about Omaro Conte, the point guard, not being eligible to play, and one of their reserves, Zach Eddowes, and might have been another kid that I'm forgetting about right now that was unable to play. Conte came back. I saw he played in the game earlier this week.
Yeah, he came back.
But now, last night, you're looking at the story in the Union Leader written by, I think, Jim Fennell. Let me see here, just to make sure. I would assume it was the big F. It is Jim Fennell. And they didn't have Iridakunda last night. They didn't have Conte. Wade Gopp, who was a reserve, was not able to play last night, apparently sitting out the game for violating school policy. And we talked about Eddowes. He's been sitting out for violating the school's code of conduct, so he hasn't played in a few weeks. So, once again, Memorial shorthanded. They're not a deep team. They're only like 6 or 7 deep. But when you're missing 4 guys, Gopp, not necessarily in that rotation, but it makes it awful tough.
It makes it really tough, and the quotes in the paper from Jack Quirk, and I believe one of them, this isn't an exact quote, I believe it was something.
I have the story right in front of me.
All right, I think it was something to the effect of the only thing you can depend on is undependability with this group.
When you show up, you don't know what will be the situation. Kids make decisions, and they have to live with it. Unfortunately, other kids are affected. I don't think that's the one you're looking for. It's more than a little frustrating, Quirk said. I don't know, maybe it takes its toll on the kids when they have to play more minutes. Nah, I don't know. When you're on a team, you're expected to be on a team, but who knows? The only thing I can depend on is undependability. That's the one you're looking for.
And when I read that, I thought of Mike Fitzpatrick. It was the first guy I thought of. And
who was their coach last year.
Who was their coach last year and who left that job. He didn't get fired. He didn't get released. He left that job to go to Bedford. And I'm not going to speak for Mike Fitzpatrick. I wouldn't do that. But there was a very strong feeling that he left that job because those kids weren't showing up to summer league games at BST, which they paid money for. I'm sure Fitzy paid out of his own pocket a little bit, but they weren't showing up to games. They weren't, so forth. They're playing AAU with Sudi Lat, and they.
Are they showing up to all the AAU games?
I think so. I don't know.
Are they checking in at the the Bishop family or whatever it's called?
Bishop Elite.
I know.
But when I read that, I said to myself, isn't this why Mike Fitzpatrick's got a smile on his face at 9-6 Bedford right now? You know what I mean? And or I think they're 10-6 Bedford right now. But you know what I mean? This was the issue, and with Memorial, I wrote about this in the midseason snapshot. When they're dialed in and they're together, they're tremendous. And
1 week ago, where were you? At Merrimack.
I was at Merrimack.
And walking out of there going, Memorial can win the whole thing.
And I left there saying, if anyone tries to run high ball screens against Memorial, they're going to lose because they can switch so easily. They can have 1-6-4 guy replaces another. The reason why Trinity gave these guys trouble is because Trinity does that drive kick motion offense. They're not setting high ball screens, so they got Memorial chasing. Memorial is very aggressive defensively. So the first thing you do when a team is very aggressive defensively, you use the aggressiveness against them. You go backdoor. You set back screens, so forth, so on. Well, what Trinity was doing is moving around the perimeter. Guys were overextending when they were denying the ball. Trinity was cutting backdoor or finding angles where they get open shots. Against Merrimack, Merrimack was setting high ball screens for Gendron, and boom, it was like Maiola's on you. 6'2" guy, good defender. Switch. Now Zubel Aradacunda's on you. He's 6'4". It's the same thing. I mean, they're both athletic. They're both very smart defenders, but you got to put them in space and make it chase them around. And that's what Winnicott, I think. Let's not take anything away from Winnicott.
Who beat him last night?
Yeah, no kidding. We didn't even mention it. Jay McKenna, give him all the credit. And Jay did the 5 guys in, 5 guys out, and he said in the paper, he goes, it was working, so we kept doing it more than ever. Richie Ruffin stepped up, 22 points, had a big game. Sam Nomeyer had 11. I'm sure Gelati did a very good job handling pressure. That's a big win. Winnicott gets back to 500 now, and that's the thing with Memorial. You don't know. If they win the championship, it doesn't shock me. If they lose in the first round, it doesn't shock me. That's how I feel about them. Yeah. I think that's how a lot of people feel about them.
At 12-4 right now after that loss last night.
Still, if they beat Spalding, they can still finish top 4. Yeah. And they play Spalding.
Yeah, and that's they got a tough 2 final games. They got to play at Alvern on Tuesday, and then they host Spalding on Friday night in the regular season finale. And Spalding, they bounced back. They had a little bit of a struggle against Central. They bounced back, and they had a couple of good wins this week. They beat Merrimack, and they beat BG last night. But they got a tough finish, too. I mean, I mentioned the Memorial game in the regular season finale. They got to play at South on Tuesday.
Yeah, and Spalding's got a tough finish, and Spalding's offense is one that would give Memorial problems. It's that kind of motion offense we're talking about, where they run those high sets.
Much tougher though playing in Rochester.
You love talking about
no. I'm just saying. I'm saying playing there is a big difference for Memorial than playing at their home gym.
If Spalding beats Memorial, it isn't going to matter, even if they lose to South, because they'd finish the same record and win the tiebreaker. So it's basically going to be head-to-head between those two teams.
All right, we'll take a timeout, come back, and we'll start to look at the D4 playoff picture. As Dave, you got somewhat of an idea of how it's shaken out, and it should be an interesting tournament in both D3 and D4 as those regular seasons are over. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
There we go.
Heading up towards the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. You know what I'd like for some breakfast this morning, Dave?
Cherry pie?
A little cherry pie.
The late, great Janie Lane, R.I.P., my friend.
Oh, he's dead?
Yeah, he's
dead. Let me guess.
Vodka and pills in a hotel room.
I was going to say overdose?
Not a good mix. It's not a good diet.
It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. I compliment with a little hairband talk every now and then. Both me and my co-host Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com, both diehard hairband fans, especially you, Dave. We're going to try and get the same type of breakdown we got on the D3 bracketology from Dave Chase from Hopkinton. Very much appreciated him coming on. We're going to see if we can go to your well of contacts, Dave, and get somebody for the second hour to come on and maybe give us what their take is on the brackets in D4, because they're not official until the NHIAA posts them or sends them out.
If you wait till the NHIAA tells you who you're playing, it's almost too late. I mean, they don't tell you till Monday morning. It's ridiculous.
And what day do the playoffs start? Is
Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
and
they
in
got
D3,
practice.
you've got like opening round.
Yeah,
It's like the NCAA tournament. They did that first four thing.
No,
and,
I know.
Crazy stuff, and I don't get into that. They have play-in games in D3. They don't have that in D4. It's a 16-team tournament in D4.
They did a better job. The playing games, I wrote a whole thing on the website about it a couple years ago. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was like 5 and 13 teams playing 4 and 14 teams. This is ridiculous. I'm like, come on, what are we doing here? I mean, 6 and 12. I think 6 and 12 is as bad as it should ever be. I mean, if you're 5 and 13, you don't deserve to keep playing. You got to move on to baseball.
So should you get a bye if you're the number 1 seed and you're playing someone who's 5 and 13?
You pretty much do anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, whoever's going to Conant, it's going to be a long trip home.
But last year in D1, we saw that 15 seed Dover beat a number 2 seed Salem.
Yeah.
And that was kind of crazy. I remember being at Merrimack. Merrimack played BG in the first round last year. And Merrimack was the 7th seed. They went on to win the championship in D1. They beat BG. I think that game went to overtime against BG last year.
Yeah.
And I think Lunn hit a 3 to tie the game to send it into overtime, and then Merrimack ended up winning. But everybody was expecting a Merrimack at Salem second-round game, quarterfinal game, and it didn't happen. I remember when news kind of broke out through Twitter or whatever it was, or maybe someone texted someone, and then it starts, virally spreading, so to speak. And it was like, wow, we're hosting a quarterfinal game now, and that really helped them, catapult them into Durham and then onto the championship.
Remember, Exeter beat Trinity at Trinity in the first round.
That was a 14-3 game.
Yeah, it was maybe 4 years ago, I think. But I think it was David Medall's junior year, I believe, and you can never assume. And I mean, again, you look at the bottom of the standings this year, something like that could easily happen again. Dover and Exeter, again, are two teams that are going to, Salem on the right night.
Yeah, they're playing well now.
If Ruffin's hitting shots, then they can score enough points to beat you. They can dial it up defensively. And I love that Seth Guerin was, I thought he was great in studio last week.
He was awesome.
And I love that he was honest when he said, when I said to him, isn't it about matchups? There's, I'm just throwing out names here, so don't quote me, but God, I'd hate to play Merrimack, but I'd love to play against Spalding. And you know what I mean? You see where it ends up, and that's what it comes down to.
How about Timberlane? I saw someone posted about Pat Mahoney, fine player from the Timberlane Owls. Timberlane finishes probably going to finish at 0-18 this year, and he's played 3 years for that team and hasn't won a game in the last 3 years.
We got to get that guy in a good men's league team in college.
I mean, wow.
Good in-rail team.
Wow. I remember when I was playing Biddy basketball, I played 2 years for a team called the Stars. We were an expansion team in Nashua. Yeah. We went 0-20. We went 1-19 the first year, and then we went 0-20 the next year. And then my third year, my final year, we won the championship. So there is hope for you, Timberlane Owls fans. We got to take a timeout, getting to the top of the hour. We got Mike Soucy from Hollis Brookline, a little D2 talk, and we'll get you that D4 bracket breakdown Dave Haley promises.
And remember what got you here. Focus on the fundamentals. We've gone over time and time again. And most important, don't get caught up thinking about winning or losing this game. If you put your effort and concentration into playing to your potential to be the best that you can be, I don't care what the scoreboard says at the end of the game, in my book, we're going to be winners.
This is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show.
This is a second coming. This is a call to arms. Your finest hour won't be wasted.
All season long, we played our game. Right now, you're playing theirs. When we step on the floor, every second that clock is ticking, we are pedal to the metal. We run the ball. We pressure the ball. And most importantly, we control the tempo of the game.
And now, here are your hosts, Pete Terrier.
But I have a question, though. Those 2 foul shots at the end of the game, did you miss them? Or did you miss them?
Not exactly a soup question, is it?
And Dave Haley from NASportspage.com.
Right now, it's not about talent. It's about heart. It's about who can go out there and play the hardest, who can go out there and play the smartest. Now, they've been here before, so they're not going to give it to us. We got to go out there and we got to take it.
This is gonna hurt.
Hour number 2 of the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show on this, the final Saturday in the month of February. Got another snowstorm coming your way tonight, although it's not going to be as bad. The forecast around Manchester, Nashua, Concord, most of New Hampshire, 3 to 6 inches of snow starting sometime in the afternoon today and really going through most of the day tomorrow. The sort of high snow total area projected to be that area near the seacoast that spills into southern and western Maine, where you live, Dave, basically on the seacoast, Rochester,
lately,
Dover. Yeah. They're looking at 4 to 8 inches out there. So another good thing, it's a Saturday night, so not a lot of people have to be a lot of places tomorrow. So just kind of enjoy it, ride it out. It is winter. It's almost March. You know what they say about March? In like a lion, out like a lamb. And they also say there is madness in March, and we'll talk about that coming up in the second hour of the program. Want to thank Dave Chase from Hopkinton, the Hawks, the number 6 seed, or at least we think so, unofficially in D3. The tournament brackets will be publicized on Monday from the NHIAA. We had Coach Chase on breaking down the brackets. He named off 1 through 16, at least the way he sees it with his calculations.
1 through 20.
1 through 20, actually. We also are going to have Buddy Trask from Colebrook coming on. He was in studio a few weeks ago. He's going to join us from the Great North Woods of New Hampshire, and he'll try and give us the breakdown in D4. He thinks he has it 1 through 16, so we'll talk with Coach Trask a little bit later on this hour. Just a few minutes from now, we'll talk some D2 hoops. We got Mike Susi, head coach of the Hollis Brookline Cavaliers. They're looking at a potential top 4 seed in the D2 tournament, which gets underway next week. But before we get into all that, let's hit the scoreboard one final time from last night with Dave Haley.
Start off with Trinity with a big win on the road, 67-61 over Dover. Patrick Keefe and John Colletti didn't play in the game. They both had the flu, but huge game for Carmen G. and Petruzzi, who's making a late run at first-team All-State. 31 points, 14 rebounds. Carmen's averaging over 15 rebounds a game in his last 5 contests. Moving along, Nashua South got big gains from Tim and Jack Preston, 17 and 16 points from those two. They beat Londonderry 64-52, and they look like they're very close to locking up a top 4 seed. Bedford goes on the road. Jake Capistrand with a nice game there. Bedford with a 75-66 win over Keene on a trip that nobody likes making. Game of the night. Upset of the night, Winnicott at 62-50 over Memorial. We just talked about that one. Memorial down 4 players, but Richie Ruffin with 22 points, and that's a really nice win for Jay McKenna's team as they go back to 500 at 8-8. Salem beats Pinkerton, keeps Pinkerton down. Is Pinkerton going to make the tournament? I guess they're going to slide in. 67-61. Andrew Ruffin with 22 points as Salem beats Pinkerton. That game was played at Salem. Spalding with a nice win. They got some balanced scoring. Dominic Parody led it, but they beat BG 61-48. Jeff Lunn, third leading scorer, I believe, in Division I, was held to 9 points in that one. Moving into Alvern. Alvern was the other win. They beat Nashua North 61-54 behind 22 points from Tyler Livingston. Alec Yost did not play in that game, and I will be sending out paramedics to his home to make sure he's okay. I'm a little concerned about him. Pembroke with a 63-44 win over Bishop Brady in front of a packed house. As Pembroke is close to finishing off an unbeaten season. Patrick Welts with 23 in that one. Conant 70-37 over Bow. Conant is playing very well right now. Bad loss for Cole Brown. They lose 44-39 to Kingswood at home.
Head scratcher.
That's a head scratcher, and they couldn't afford that. That's a bad loss.
And they were like 8-3, weren't they?
No, but they're.
And now they're what, 500?
Again, Kingswood was losing to Winnisquam and Newfound in a Christmas tournament, and it had one win coming into that game for the entire season. So not a good game there, and that was at home. Hopkinton 60-24 over Franklin. We just talked to Dave Chase, and Hopkinton is going to be the 6th seed in the tournament. If they can win in the first round, they're probably going to head to Newport, which should be a real good game. Newport 41-38 over Kearsarge. Kearsarge's playing much better. Nate Camp's doing a really good job. They hold Andrew Hood to 7 points, but he gets 15 rebounds and 8 blocks, and they finish 17-1.
I meant to send you a text yesterday because you're always quick to point out my mistakes. I wanted to point out one of yours.
Here we go.
The Kearsarge Cougars, correct?
Yeah, what did I call them?
The Eagles.
I did?
Yeah. Go to your Thursday thoughts.
Aren't they the Eagles?
They're the Cougars. Always have been. Because I remember I mentioned this to Coach Chase that Steve Laval-Pacello, who's now the coach at Newport, who played Kearsarge.
I was in that gym. I should know. I went to
and I
Kearsarge
remember it was the
in
Kearsarge Cougars against the Conval Cougars.
I'm sure you're right.
You know,
my deepest sympathies to the people of North Sutton, New Hampshire. I apologize. Hollis Brookline 48-38 over John Stark. Nick Lloyd, very high-scoring guard for John Stark, averages about 21, 22 points a game. He was held to 7 points. And Hollis Brookline did a fantastic. Connor Walsh does a fantastic job defensively, and that's a nice win there. We're going to talk to Mike Susi. Look for that. Oyster River 51-36 over Kennett. Campbell 72-49 over Messinic. And rounding out the scores, the
Stauffenecker,
yeah. By the way, Stauffenecker had 57 points against Monadnock and 2 against Conant.
Yikes.
So that's a little bit of a difference. There's a little bit of a gap there. Portsmouth wins a rock fight over Souhegan that, once again, Jim Mulvey will not apologize for. 46-34 on the road without Ben Landry. So that's an impressive win for Portsmouth as they look like they're going to wrap up.
I thought you called him. I'm like, who's Bam Landry?
Ben Landry.
Like,
a lot of coffee this morning.
Landry, yeah.
2 more scores to get to. Berlin 61-42 over Prospect Mountain. Berlin's playing great basketball. Remember, they replaced 4 starters from a championship team, and they're now going to be the number 1 seed in the tournament. And Somersworth 61 go for 40.
What did you just say, Dave?
Somersworth won 61-40.
And who did they play?
They played Guilford.
Is that the Golden Cougars?
My Golden Eagles are the 4 seed. Somersworth 23 points from Drew Francoeur has been fantastic. Nice win for Lauren Lucas's team. Guilford got run out of the gym. They're gonna have to answer the bell on that one. It looks like they're gonna play Belmont most likely in the first round. Guilford will. If they win that, we play Campbell at home next Saturday night, which I would hopefully be there.
Yeah.
But they better turn it around after that one because they got beat bad. It was a very close first quarter, and then the second quarter was something like 20-2 or something. Somersworth ran them out of the gym.
And Josh Joyce and David Psyche, I think, had 11 points combined between them, and so they did a good job holding those guys down.
Lauren Lucas, maybe coach of the year.
And I think Tyler Kretschmar returned last night.
He did,
and the box score.
Big difference. Yeah, absolutely. He helps that team a lot.
Well, they're a number 4 seed, so they got a couple of home games potentially. You got to be proud. I mean, before the season started, Dave, did you think Guilford would be a top 4 team?
Absolutely not. No, I put him in my preview just out of courtesy because I talk to Chip every year. But no, Josh Joyce has made all the difference. Again, you got a bunch of role players that hustle, and then you add a first-team All-State, and he's a first-team All-State guy in that division.
He's only a sophomore.
No. Hey, listen, Guilford's going to be a tough out in their home gym, and they're going to have to answer it. They got shoved around last night by an angry team. Somersworth was angry, and they pushed them all around the gym and beat them. And they're going to have to respond. They're going to have to respond, and they will.
All right, we'll take a timeout. We come back. We'll get Mike Susi, head coach of the Hollis Brookline Cavaliers. This is a team that I don't think a lot of people are talking about, and that's a good basketball team. And I think that they're going to be a tough out for sure in the D2 tournament coming up next week. Also, don't forget, about 8:45 or so, Buddy Trask from Colebrook High School, Colebrook Academy, they will join us, or he will join us, and he will give us the brackets in Division 4, at least as he sees
unofficial
them.
Brackets.
A little Colebrook type of math. His team just outside of the top 4, so they're going to probably have to go on the road for a quarterfinal matchup. We'll see how it shakes out. We'll see what Coach Trask thinks the D4 brackets look like. That's coming up at about 8:45. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. Pete Terrier, along with Dave Haley of NHSportsPage.com on News Radio 610 and 96.7. Back here on the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show each and every Saturday morning, live on the radio, two fine stations, News Radio 610 in and around the area of Manchester, Nashua, Concord. You can include Hollis Brookline in the mix there. Also a Seacoast signal if you're a fan of one of those D2 schools on the Seacoast like Oyster River or Portsmouth or St. Thomas. And I'm sure I'm leaving somebody out, but you know what? One thing that I do know about the D2 competition this year, it's been hot and heavy, and one team that's been in the mix of it all season long is the Hollis Brookline Cavaliers. Here to talk about that team with us is the coach of the Cavs. It is Mike Susi. Coach Susi, good morning. Thanks for joining us on the program.
Oh, thanks for having me, Pete.
So, Coach, back-to-back games this week against the same team. You had Stark. You beat them at your place on, what was that, Tuesday night or Wednesday night?
Wednesday night, yep.
And then you had to go back and play them again last night at their place in Ware, and you beat them 48-38, so a good sweep. What's it like having to play the same team twice in the same week?
It's brutal. I mean, it's brutal because you're playing a good team that has some really good players, plays physical, plays hard. And you don't have a lot of time to prep if you've made some mistakes between the first game and the second game. You get one day, and with basically 4 games in 7 days, that practice was really geared towards, getting up some shots and just walking through a couple of things. We really didn't practice hard. So it's not an easy thing, but, they were in the same boat. So, you gotta do the best you can.
Coach, when you and I talked last week, Coach Susi's a teacher over at Merrimack. So we were at Merrimack for the Memorial game. We were catching up. And I thanked you. I said, hey, thank you very much for being so good because I picked you number 4 and you're making me look good. Because when I'm wrong, everybody kind of reminds me. But I appreciate it. But the reason I picked you guys so high in the preseason is because so many coaches told me. They said Hollis Brookline is going to be really good. This is a group that's kind of been together for a while, and they've had some struggles in the past. They've kind of slowly built up to the point where now you're one of the elite teams. When with this group did you kind of say, whether it be last year or in the summer, where you kind of said, I think we're starting to get it. Like, it's starting to kind of happen for this group. When did you see that?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I think we predicted this, at least 4 years ago when this current senior class were in 8th grade. And we saw the 7th graders, too. So we predicted that, this could be a pretty good class for us going forward. But, as you know, you're dealing with kids, and you don't know quite how much they're going to develop and take to the coaching that you're giving them and the new instruction. And but this is just a tremendous group of kids who just really care about one another. And it's across both classes. They really, really get along. They're really connected. They have a lot of fun together, and it's just made coaching them a lot easier. And so it's a pretty remarkable group of kids.
Coach, I got to see you a couple of times in the Chick-fil-A Holiday Classic in Nashua, that great holiday tournament. This year was at Nashua South. And before I saw you, I heard from Dave, hey, those two guards that they got, Walsh and Flom, talking about Connor Walsh and P.J. Flom, that's a good backcourt. First time I see them in action, I'm like, wow, those guys are strong. I wrote down in my notes here on your roster page in that program, Walsh and Flom, muscular guards. I mean, P.J. Flom, I wouldn't want to get in a fight with him, but those guys are stacked. They're jacked.
They are. I mean, one of the things that we do, I think, really well in our program is we get into the weight room. We have a pretty comprehensive weight room program that we'll start up, a couple of weeks after the basketball season, and we'll go right through until basketball season starts again. And most of the kids find a way to get in there. And those two in particular have spent a lot of time in the weight room over the last 4 years, really developing their strength and their athleticism and their quickness. And it certainly has paid off for both of them. And it's a tribute to them, because none of the stuff that we do in the off season is mandatory. They make the choice to do it. My job is to provide them with some opportunity. It's up to them whether they want to take advantage of it or not, and they certainly have.
I was watching a great college hoop game last night. St. Louis was playing at Butler, and I'm rocking a Billiken shirt right now. I've become a St. Louis fan with a pool I do. But one thing about St. Louis is that they're great defensively, and so even if they're having an off shooting night, defensively they're gonna stay in the game because they D you up so well. It just reminds me of your team. I mean, that's you guys right now are ranked. I believe you're ranked 3rd or 4th. I think you're 3rd in Division II in defense overall, 47 points a game.
Yep.
Anytime you're holding a team under 50, it's very, very impressive. Has that always been the mentality? You said you've been with this group a long time. Has it always been a team, or have they kind of learned under you and the coaching staff how to how to play defense as well as they do?
I think they've always dug in to it, but they didn't completely understand all the concepts. So they had to learn that and progress through that. And certainly, we've had some bumps in the roads, and we've had some defensive breakdowns that make me nuts. And we've won some games where we've given up too many points, and I'll tell them, like we beat Goffstown, 75-66, and I told the guys, great offensive game, great game overall, but I'm not happy that we gave up 66 points, even though we won. This is just not who I am. It's not how I'm dialed up. I'm a defensive first kind of guy, and we really pride on ourselves in taking care of that end of the floor. And when we don't, then we're gonna talk about it, obviously. But these kids really buy into our system, and we keep things pretty simple. We don't do anything too complicated. I think we're pretty easy to scout and pretty easy to prepare for, because not a lot changes with what we do. But we stick to it, and I think we've gotten pretty good at it because we don't change 100 different things. We stick to what we know. We try to do it the best of our ability, and if you beat us, you beat us. And that's kind of our philosophy.
That's Mike Soucy, head coach of the Hollis Brookline Cavaliers. His team on an 8-game winning streak. They're 13-3, just 2 games left in the regular season. Got to play at Wyndham on Tuesday, and then you have the regular season finale on Thursday at Hollis. It is Hanover coming in, so you got a couple of tough games, but if the season ended today, and I know coaches don't like that phrase, but if the season ended today, you guys would be looking at a top 4 seed in D2, so you got to be pretty happy with that.
I mean, we're happy with where we're at, but what we're really trying to focus on is one game at a time, and so we're looking at that Wyndham game, which actually got moved to Monday.
Okay.
So we're playing them on Monday. So that's again, it's another quick turnaround game against a very athletic, very disciplined team. It's going to give us all kinds of challenges, and so we're going to do the best to prepare. And we're really, like I said, focused on one game at a time. I think we had a kind of a early to mid-season slip-up, and I think it's because we lost a little bit of focus on what our goals were, and we extended our goals far beyond where we were at that point in the season. So we're trying to dial it back and just take it one game at a time and see how it goes.
I'm looking. We were just talking about Division III, and there's some teams at the top of Division III that I think haven't really been tested like other teams have. And one thing about you guys is you've played Portsmouth on the road, you've played Pembroke, you've played you've beaten Souhegan twice. You played at Pelham, which is a really tough place to win. You played at Oyster River. I mean, that's played John Stark twice. How much? I mean, that's be battle tested, right? I mean, even if there's a loss along the way because you play a tough schedule, that's got to help you out coming up here in the tournament.
Oh, there's no question about it. And we have 10 road games this year, only 8 home games, and that certainly is going to prepare us well for the tournament. It's also, it's one of these things. You get your schedule and you got to play it out. There's no sense in complaining. Oh, I got a tough schedule. I got all these road games. It doesn't matter. You just got to go out and play the games. And the kids are focused on that. They're just taking it one game at a time. And certainly we would like to be home a little bit more, but it's okay. We're battling through it, and playing those tough teams is always going to get you ready for the tournament. I mean, but the thing about Division II this year is you can't go by records. You just can't. We played Goffstown twice, and both games were a war, and we were lucky to win both of those games. So throw the records out. There's a lot of parity in Division II right now, and I think the teams that have the records that they do probably are because they made a few more plays down the stretch.
Well, you've got, and speaking of that, you're playing the team right now. I get emails from I don't know how you say his last name, but Liam Gantrish. He's the point guard, one of the key players for Hanover. Yep. He and Cyrus Rothwell Ferris, and he sends me their stats and so forth, which is great. And I emailed him back. They said, "Look here comes Hanover." I mean, they've won 5 of 6. They beat Wyndham the other night. They beat John Stark. They beat Pelham. They've beaten Bishop Brady. So they're not beating the Convals of the world. I mean, they're beating very good teams. That's a team you close the season with. That's another team. They're 7-8 right now. You'd rather not play those guys in the tournament as a low seed.
Well, I think that's true, but I think even though they're 7-8, you take a look at their losses early in the season, and they're 3 points, 4 points, 5 points. Every game was close.
Lost to Pembroke in overtime.
Exactly. So you knew they were a good team, and Timmy's a tremendous coach. I mean, he's going to get the most out of those kids no matter what he's got. He's just so good at it. And that's not going to be an easy game. There aren't any easy games. You just don't look at the schedule and say, oh, this is a layup, because there aren't any. Any given night, and when you're dealing with 16, 17, 18-year-old boys, you don't know what their focus is going to be. Did they break up with the girlfriend the night before? Who knows?
Second coach in the last 2 weeks to bring up the breakup with the girlfriend thing. Seth Barron said it last week. Yeah.
Well, it's so true when you're dealing with high school kids. So, all these things can factor in, and especially with the kids going to college next year, where they stand. Are they stressed about that? There's just so many factors that can impact how they play. That you can't take anybody lightly. You got to go out and play. We played Milford twice, and we were down after the first quarter in both of those games. So, it's just one of those things. High school sports.
Coach, I'm counting on you guys to get that top 4 seed because I got some scheduling concerns.
Yeah, he already told me he's going to the game.
On the quarterfinal Saturday night. So, first of all, we need no snow postponements or anything like that. We need you guys to secure that top 4 seed so I can be at the Hollis Brookline High School Gymnasium on Saturday, March 9th for a 7 o'clock tip-off of a D2 quarterfinal. So you got to hold up your end of the bargain, all right?
Well, we're going to do our best, but the bottom line is even if we secure that top 4 seed, we got to win that first game. So
that's true. We'll take care of business, okay?
We're going to do our best.
All right, Mike Soucy from Hollis Brookline, thanks so much. We really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope to see you on March 9th.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks,
Coach. He's a good one. Fun to talk to.
Oh, yeah, always.
We got to get to a break. We're going to come back, talk a little D1. Huge game on Tuesday night. Both you and I will be in the house. Simon Gym
game of the year?
Manchester. It is the game of the year.
Yeah, it is.
And it's Trinity. It's Manchester Central. Winner gets the number 1 seed. I mean, I've looked at it, and that's what's going to happen. Whoever wins that game gets the number 1 seed. I'm not sure how important that really is. I mean, it looks good on paper when you're the number 1 seed, but I'm not sure it's a be-all, end-all situation. We'll talk about that one. And then still coming up in the show, Buddy Trask from Colebrook will come on, and he'll give us D4, the tournament bracket, how he sees it, that Colebrook math. We'll get it from Buddy Trask coming up at about 8:45. It is the New Hampshire High School Hoop Show. Pete Terrier, Dave Haley from NHSportsPage.com, News Radio 610 and 96.7.
Teasing me with the hair metal, then.
Dave Haley just does not like top 40 pop hit music radio.
No.
But I'll tell you what, this is a little party rocking in the house tonight. And on Tuesday night at the Simon Gym in Manchester, inner city Manchester, Queen City battle extraordinaire, Central against Trinity, 2 15-1 teams, despite what the NHIAA website has to say this morning, because Gary Leonard will put that score in.
We got it.
Tomorrow. Or today, or whatever, at some time. Actually, wasn't that game in Dover last night?
It was in Dover last night.
So who's the Dover AD?
I don't know.
All right, well, they're responsible for getting
you
that.
You can go on our website. You can go on our website 10 minutes after the Trinity game ends, and you'll have the full box score because Richard calls me. He's the best.
Well, Trinity did win that game last night, by the way. And what was the final score?
67-61.
67-61.
They were losing until the third quarter. Trinity went on something like a 12-4 run and took it over. Gene Petruzzi, 31-14.
That's a huge game for him. Mabor Gabriel, 15 points. It sets up the winner. Takes the number 1 seed game in Manchester on Tuesday night.
And
you and I in the house.
As TNF on the forum points out over text, would avoid Nashua South most likely in the semifinals, which is looking way ahead. But
I guess
true.
I mean, if you want to break it down that far,
you get Spalding,
that's
Memorial.
a good thing. But you're going to be facing a tough team no matter what.
Yeah.
But the winner of that game gets the number 1 seed. So Central will finish up against Bedford. Trinity, let's see who they got in their regular season finale. They play Timberlane. So chances are they might win that game.
You think?
Yeah, they might win that. Imagine that. Okay, think about that for a second. Say Trinity goes into Central and wins the game. So they're the number 1 seed. Then they go against Timberlane. And Dave Keefe knows that doesn't matter, that Timberlane game, and all of a sudden we find out that he's just got some kind of affinity for Plastow or something, and he says, we're going to concede the game. We're giving Timberlane that win. We just want them to get in the positive win column to end the season. Send Pat Mahoney and the rest of those Timberlane seniors out with a much, much deserved victory. You don't see that happening.
No.
Just see Dave's face.
I don't even know where to go with this.
I don't know if the video cast picked up the facial expression right there. We could check it out on NHSportsPage.com
Perplexed
tomorrow.
would be the best way to describe it.
But you're looking at me like, Come on.
Well, so let's talk about this game. So I think I love the way Trinity's playing offensively. And again, they're running these guys. They're running high motion sets. And, obviously Carmen's given them – they're not – I think they got stagnant on offense with those big guys last year, and this year they're more free. Mabor likes to roam out. Carmen likes that little baseline jumper from 15, and I think there's more freedom for guys to have lanes to get to the basket. Patrick Keefe and his health, we hope he's feeling better. We hope he's much better by Tuesday, but that's big. He's been playing great for them. He's a smart little player. He's got great pull-up jumper. He gets in the lane. He creates. And that drive and kick offense, you need guys who can create offensively, and he can do it.
And Otis and Rhodes
sure.
Certainly assimilated. Kid that didn't play, John Cullity, last night.
Yeah,
real
nice
good three-point
shooter. Absolutely.
They have some depth. Masuku is an energy guy, a defensive-minded player.
Wenyan Gabriel's been playing.
He's been playing a lot
real
better.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. He's doing a nice job for those guys. And Central, you know what it is. They're just very smart. They got to have all their guys. Pletsis has got to be there, and then Dawson Dixon. I think defensively, they can match up pretty well with Trinity on that perimeter. I can tell you one thing. You were at the first matchup in the Queen City game. Mm-hmm. I watched the entire game on film, thanks to the great John Cassidy. Throw it out. It doesn't matter. And these kids all know each other so well.
And Central beat them, I think, by 14 in that game.
Yeah, and Trinity looked like they were sleepwalking through it. And Dave knew it, and Dave texted me like the next day, and he's like, we had a fun practice after that. He basically said, what are we doing? Are we doing this or not? And they've been tremendous the rest of the way. And offensively, they have the number one offense in the division, 66.7 a game, and they have the number one defense in the division, 49 a game at Trinity. So they've been quietly dominant. I
went to the Central Nashua South game on Tuesday. That was in Manchester, and Central just didn't seem to be real in it. They just didn't have the energy that you normally have. You mentioned Plentis. He played in that game. He's been in and out of the lineup all year because of injuries and things this year. He did not play well. I think Central's better when Nick Macris is playing the majority of the minutes. Gives them another big guy. They don't really have much size outside of Pelletier, but I think Macris. Tyler Kelly's 6'2".
I know.
Macris is 6'3", but he plays bigger. Tyler Kelly is a tweener. I think that they're better with Macris on the floor and Plentis not on the floor. Now, I've only seen Plentis play that one game, and he didn't play well the other night, but I've seen Central a number of times this year, and I just like them with Nick Macris in the lineup. I think he's better. I know Doc knows the personnel and knows the team, and he knows basketball way more than I do, but I just think that they look better. That's the eyeball test type of thing.
They know each other so well, and they're all friends. And Carmen and Troy Pelletier are good friends, and Dawson used to play with these guys, and he's good friends with Patrick Keefe and so forth. I've said this before. I've said it a million times. There's no game like this game in the state. In that the familiarity. Dave and Doc have known each other forever. They've coached together, I believe, and there's no other game that has this feel. I understand there's other great rivalries, Exeter and Winnacunnet and, whatever, all over the state. There's nothing with the feel of this game. You feel like everybody saw each other earlier in the week, around town, and everyone, the parents know each other, and former players are there in the first row, and the officials know everybody. You know what I mean? It's like Will Flowers will probably be reffing it. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's a Manchester guy. And it's just the atmosphere is incredible. We're all going to be there, all three of us, right?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. We'll have video highlights on the website for that on Wednesday morning. So that's Tuesday night. I think it's probably a 7 o'clock tip. Usually that's the way they do it at Central.
Yeah.
I don't know, but my recommendation...
Get there early.
You got it. Get there early because it's going to be a packed gym. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back. We'll get you that D4 bracket breakdown, little bracketology with Buddy Trask. He's going to join us, our buddy from Colebrook up there in the North Country. He will give us what he thinks the tournament is going to look like. The season is in the books. It is unofficial. NHIAA will come out with the official pairings on Monday, but we'll try and get ahead of it. Get the jump on the bracket breakdown. We already did it for D3 thanks to Dave Chase from Hopkinton. We got the D4 bracket breakdown coming up next. New Hampshire High School Hoop Show, News Radio 610 and 96.7. While she may be only 17, But the number that we're worried about right now is 16, and I'm talking about the 16 teams that make the Division 4 state tournament here in New Hampshire. We're going to bring on Buddy Trask from Colebrook in just one moment to try and break it down and see how this thing shakes out before the NHIAA releases the official tournament pairings on Monday. But before we get to Coach Trask, I just want to answer a couple of texts that came in to me, or at least comment on them. First of all, I want to thank Tommy Amin, friend of the program, for saying that Trinity Central game at Simon Gym on Tuesday is, in fact, a 7 p.m. tip-off. And I'm going to trust Tommy on that because Tommy knows that type of stuff. And then let's see this text that came in from the famed T and F from the New Hampshire Sports Forum says, "Come on, Pete. Number 1 seed avoids South in the bracket. It's very important to get the number 1 seed this year." And then, Dave, you just pointed out off air to me that, yeah, you get the number 1 seed, you could be looking at Memorial, in a potential semifinal. It's getting way ahead of ourselves.
Or Spalding.
It's always, or Spalding, or a number of teams. I mean, it's important, but it's not important. It's just going to be a heck of a game on Tuesday night, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there, and we'll have the coverage for you. All right, let's go to Coach Trask. Coach, nothing like putting you on the spot on a Saturday morning, calling you up out of the blue and saying, you got to come on and tell us who the 16 playoff teams are in D4. We appreciate it. Are you up to the task?
Well, I don't know. I'm getting ready for practice here, so I got to be a janitor and clean the floor and stuff first. But, you interrupt me from doing that. But other than that, I'm all set.
We apologize for that.
Delegate, Coach. Aren't you you're the AD up there, too? So delegate. Come on.
Yeah, well, I can't delegate that. There's not too many people around on a Saturday morning.
So are you doing this like off the cuff, or are you actually looking at like something which has all the teams in front of you?
Well, no, we went through it. I'm pretty sure it is what it is. You can never be sure about how they work the tiebreakers, but I think we're all set.
All right, well, it looks like Littleton is easily, they're the number 1 seed any way you slice it, correct?
Correct.
Here's my question. Who's the 3 seed? Is it Derryfield or Profile?
It should be Profile based upon Profile was 12-4 against tournament teams, and Derryfield was 8-4. So
okay,
my projection is Profile 3rd.
Okay, so then Derryfield would be 4, and you would be 5. So
no, I think you guys are 6 because Lisbon
beat
you
they got
twice.
one more point.
They got points over Lisbon,
even though they beat you twice head to head.
Yeah, well, we had a Division 3 team on our schedule, so it ended up we got one more point, so our rating's going to be higher.
Okay. All right, so why don't you roll it down for us?
Yep, Lisbon will be 6, Epping will be 7. I'm missing the Pittsfield. The Concord Christian set up the game.
Yeah, I don't know
make
it
any
either.
difference.
Yeah.
Pittsfield and Concord Christian are going to be 8-9. One of them, that might flip flop, but they're locked into that bracket. Centipede is going to be 10th no matter what. Moultonborough will be 11. Gorham will be 12. Pittsburgh Canaan will be 13. Grofton will be 14, and Woodsville should win the tie with PCA. They should be 15, and Portsmouth Christian should be 16.
Which is funny because Woodsville plays Littleton twice, and it would, familiarity. Portsmouth Christian plays Newmarket twice and gets killed by them both times. And so, but now they're flipping. So Portsmouth Christian now of Dover is going all the way out to Littleton, and Woodsville's going all the way over to Newmarket. I had Lewis Atkins, a friend of mine who's a coach of Portsmouth Christian, call me yesterday and said, you got to tell me about Littleton. And then I had Trevor asking me about PCA, but it's kind of interesting that way, when they have to, I think Portsmouth Christian would rather play a team like Littleton that they've never seen. And, he goes, if we played Newmarket, the kids probably would go in there going, oh, geez, this isn't good because they've been beaten by 40 points by him twice.
So I think you're right there, and I saw Portsmouth Christian play against Derryfield for a half. That's all I could. Portsmouth Christian didn't have a good night that night.
Yeah,
but looking at them, physically, I think they would rather probably go to Littleton too. So.
And by the way, Jamie Hayes just texted me. He said Pittsfield is 8 and Concord Christian is 9. So just for that one. So so Concord Christian's going there. But so that would have you
Gorham.
Yeah, listen, Gorham.
And Hunter Lambertson's got a little bit of a sore ankle, but he's coming back. But that would match you up in at Derry if you can win. If you can get by Gorham, who upset Groveton last year in the first round, we should mention as a low seed.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll remind your kids that. But yeah, have you seen Derry? I'm not trying to move heads. Don't start yelling at me over the phone here. But have you seen Derryfield? Have you been able to watch them?
Yeah, I saw them play Portsmouth Christian, yeah. So
And
I didn't see him play for very long that night. It was like 17-0 1 minute into the game, 2 minutes into the game. So,
I'll give you a word of advice, Coach. Go on nhsportspage.com. You might be able to catch a little Derryfield video on that website.
Coach, just because you've been, quote-unquote, a friend of the program, I may be able to get the great John Kesty to send me the YouTube of the entire Derryfield Newmarket game. We could actually watch the whole thing.
If that would help out. But as you said, we have to beat Gorham first, and,
If you could get John Kesty maybe a gift certificate at the Colebrook House of Pizza or something.
There you go.
No, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Arranged.
No, what were you saying when I interrupt you?
I said, well, we still have to beat Gorham first, so, Derryfield would obviously present some matchup problems for us because, their front line is huge, and they bring people off the bench that are huge, so... we play 3 guys a lot of times, so sometimes we play 4 guys.
So Tuesday night, Gorham at Colebrook, part of the prelim round for Division 4. 7 o'clock tips all around the state, home of the higher seed. If you win that game, quarterfinals on Friday night. So, Coach, if you can get there, first of all, we really appreciate you coming on and breaking this down, and I think you got it nailed pretty well. So we'll check the facts on Monday when the actual pairings come out. But I hope to be seeing you on Friday night in Manchester at Derryfield. That's my hope. That's what I'm looking for.
You're actually going to be there?
I will be there.
I'm coming
Friday
too.
Night.
I'm coming too.
Oh, so we're about to, then if Dave's going, then I might. Well, we'll have to talk about that.
I'm going to that one.
There's a lot of scheduling to be done here. We got to try and get as many games as possible, and I'm already trying to lobby coaches to get in position so I can cover their game and make it easier around my schedule. It's all about me, Coach. All right. That's what you're going to have to learn. But seriously, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it, and we hope to see you on Friday night.
Well, I hope to be there. You never know. So, Gorham can be tough. They played well towards the end of the year, so we'll see what shakes down.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much for the time, and best of luck in the tourney.
Thank you.
All right. Buddy Trask helping us out here. A little bracket breakdown. We got to take a time out, come back, and bring in our real special guest, Dave's daughter, Allison. We don't have to take a break? Oh, wow. Wow. So he's like, you got to get 5 minutes more programming. Dave, do you think that this is wide open as much as it has been in the past, D4?
No. I think, at the top 8. I think the top Sunapee is a lower seed that's going to be very tough. They could beat Epping. Now, Epping's down a starter. Jacob West isn't on the team anymore, and they lost a key reserve on that team. So, really, they're down a few guys. Sunapee is the low seed that could upset somebody. I would have said that about Moultonborough, the defending champs, but Drew Swedberg got hurt again, hurt his shoulder. So, I think my opinion is that the top 8 teams are a lot better. This is a fairly obvious statement, but I think the gap is pretty wide between those top 8, 9. Let's put it this way. Moultonborough, Gorham, Pittsburgh, Groveton, PCA, Woodsville, in my opinion, they got 1 game left in their season. There isn't going to be any. Last year...
Ain't going to be an upset.
No, I think last year Gorham was a 14 seed, I think, and they beat Groveton, who was a 3. That won't happen. That's not.
What about
happen.
Newmarket? Did they get Peter Carlson back? I thought I saw him in a box score the other night, but I don't think
I'm not sure. My phone is I'm gonna get a text message any second from his coach, but I'm not sure if he's been back. I said Newmarket was the clear favorite in this thing 3 weeks ago. They're not anymore. They're just not. They haven't played that great at the end, and Jamie knows that. And that doesn't mean they're still not. It starts anew. It really does. Teams can just all of a sudden put it together in the last 4 games. Right now, I don't think there's a clear-cut number 1 team. I'll tell you, Derryfield's playing as well as anybody right now in that division. And Profile is going to be an interesting matchup as well because they play that zone and they kind of force you. Carlson's back. There's the text. So that's a big help for Newmarket.
Now, let me ask you this. We were talking about that, kind of joking with Coach Trask about that Friday night. That's March 1st. All right, we want to have as much coverage as we possibly can with the Reds website and for the radio show, which will be on Saturday. So next Saturday when we're on, we'll be coming off the quarterfinal games, those 4 quarterfinal games in Division 4. If everything works out according to seed, Newmarket, pretty much right down the street from you, is going to be hosting a game. Derryfield, pretty much right down the street from me, is going to be hosting a game. Would it not make sense to have coverage of both of those games so neither one of us has to really drive too far?
Listen, I want to see Colebrook. If Colebrook plays Derryfield, I want to go to that game. I just want to go to the game.
All right, well,
I don't care. You can go with me.
Well, no, but I want to cover 2 games at once.
Well,
We're
I think
having this
Newmarket
argument on the radio.
I think Newmarket Epping would be
well.
a fantastic game.
Then I want to go to that game.
Yeah.
All right.
Newmarket's right.
Coach Hayes, I'm coming to see you. Don't let me down this time.
They got to get there, but I'm sure that I'm sure that. Well, Epping's got to beat Sunapee.
You know, I've only been in the town of Newmarket once in my life, and it was just a couple of weeks ago.
They got a nice little I think the mill tavern. What's it called? Oh, Riverworks or something. They got a little tavern there in town. It's very nice.
Let's dip into Division 3 for a second here, because we got the bracket breakdown with Dave Chase from Hopkinton, and we thank him for doing that earlier. Conant, obviously, Newport, Berlin. I know your soft spot is Guilford, obviously.
They got a lot to prove, though, Guilford.
Is Newport the team that really we don't know as much about as a Berlin and a Conant?
Yeah, Newport used to play Conant every year, and they took them off the schedule and added, I think, Hinsdale or something like that. So Guilford and Newport are the higher seeds that are very vulnerable because they haven't played that tough schedule. Berlin hasn't played a brutal schedule either. Campbell is battle-tested, Somersworth is battle-tested, and Conant is clearly the best team. So I could definitely see home teams losing in the quarterfinal round in Division 3.
I'm not, and I'm making a statement right now. I don't care what happens. Not covering a game in Berlin.
Unless I get really angry.
I want Coach Picard on the show. Don't get me wrong.
He's going to come on,
but I'm not driving to Berlin for a game.
Nah.
I would drive to Jaffrey. I would even drive to Newport because Newport cable access TV back in the days of Jason Holmes, I think Richard Holmes was an outstanding running back from the Newport Tigers back in the early 90s. That's where I got my start in this business, doing Newport cable access, play-by-play of the Newport Tigers high school football team. So I would go to Newport, even though it's a hike, and I would certainly go to Guilford, but I'm not going to take that away from you.
Thank you very much. If Newport plays Hopkinton, that'd be a great game.
So we got a lot of exciting playoff matchups coming up over the next couple of weeks, and we'll have it covered for you right here on this program, and of course on the website, nhsportspage.com. Allison, the daughter of Dave Haley. She's been in here quietly. She's been wanting to say hi. Here's your chance, girl. You got to say hi.
Hi.
And how old are you, Allison?
6.
And how old is Daddy? He's just real old, isn't he?
Say 23.
23.
Thank you, honey.
Well, can you do this for us? Can you say Mark Hebert's Money Sense is coming up next?
Maybe not.
We tried. See you next Saturday, everybody.